Unsolved mysteries are often fascinating because they appeal to our innate curiosity as humans. We are naturally drawn to puzzles and mysteries that challenge us to think critically and creatively and to explore the unknown. Additionally, the fact that these mysteries remain unsolved adds an element of intrigue and excitement. It leaves us with a sense of uncertainty and a desire to uncover the truth behind what happened, which can lead to discussions, debates, and speculations. The mysterious lost city of giants in Ecuador. Local legends once told of huge prehistoric cities built by giants, hidden in the remote jungles of South America. This was a time when the world was supposedly part inhabited by these giants, who in turn created huge monuments evidencing their existence. Modern-day explorers heard of these stories, and looking to find the facts behind the fiction, turned to local tribes familiar with these jungles. It turns out these tribes knew exactly what the explorers were talking about, and led them to what was now a holy site, and a place of worship to the powerful spirits of this lost city of giants. Fighting their way through dense undergrowth and thick trees in a remote part of Ecuador, the researchers were brought to a jungle clearing. There before them was a set of megalithic structures, massive prehistoric monuments built up out of enormous stones. The largest was an 80-meter by 80-meter wide pyramid, which was made out of boulders that couldn't have been less than 2 tons each. All the stones were perfectly aligned, with sharp edges and a slope built at a 60-degree angle with the look of a paved wall. These looked to be sculpted by human hands. To add further to this speculation, whilst lichen had over time grown across these monuments, the researchers discovered that beneath these slow-growing plants, the stones were held together by the thick layer of an impenetrable substance, akin to concrete, and similar to materials used in the era of construction of the Mesoamerican pyramids. And it wasn't just these giant pyramid structures discovered in this city of giants that were of most significance to the researchers. Further impressive discoveries were the things that possibly helped build these monuments in the first place. Oversized manufactured tools, which were found lying nearby and clearly centuries old. These were hammer-shaped objects, with solid stone hammerheads whose wooden handles had deteriorated over time, but with the addition of the handle, it would have been impossible for the local people of the time to use these objects in any practical way, let alone build such a precise structure to stand the test of time. For these archaeologists that found this lost city of giants, these clearly unnatural formations are the most material evidence that shows that in the past, possible giants did inhabit the earth, leaving huge cities and megalithic structures in their wake. However, debates still rages on following this discovery. Researchers looked to the Ecuadorian Ministry of Culture to help with their findings and prompt further research. Instead, the government saw this pyramid-shaped structure as a natural formation, ignoring all the other evidence. However, the team that helped bring this discovery to light believe that there are many indications that point to the truth. The colossal boulders, the intricate construction, and oversized tools are all clear signs that this was not a natural formation, but a clear sign that in the distant past, large humans walked the earth, especially in this lost city of giants. Why hasn't the Cretan linear script been translated? The Cretan linear script has not been translated for a few reasons, the most important of which is that it is a still undeciphered writing system. While there have been numerous attempts to decode the script, none of these efforts have been successful to date. One of the main challenges in deciphering Linear A is that it is an isolated script, meaning that there are no other known examples of the language or writing system for comparison. This makes it difficult to identify key features of the script, such as word boundaries or common letter combinations, which are essential for understanding the language. Another challenge is that the surviving Linear A inscriptions are relatively short and often fragmented, which limits the amount of information that can be gleaned from them. Moreover, the context in which the inscriptions were created and used is not well understood, further complicating efforts to decipher the script. Despite these challenges, there are ongoing efforts by scholars to decipher the Linear A script, and new discoveries or breakthroughs may yet reveal the secrets of this ancient writing system. Linear A is a writing system that was used by the ancient Minoan civilization on the island of Crete between approximately 1800 and 1450 BCE. It is one of the oldest known writing systems in the world and is often considered a precursor to the later Linear B writing system used by the Mycenaean Greeks. Linear A consists of several hundred signs that were inscribed on clay tablets and other objects, and was used primarily for religious and administrative purposes. The script is written from left to right and features a combination of pictograms, ideograms, and phonetic signs. Despite the large number of Linear A inscriptions that have been discovered, the language represented by the script has yet to be deciphered, and its meaning remains largely unknown. Many of the signs used in the script have been identified and categorized, but their phonetic values and the grammar of the language they represent are still uncertain. Some scholars have suggested that the writing system may have been a precursor to the later Linear B script, which was used by the Mycenaean Greeks and has been deciphered as an early form of Greek. However, the relationship between the two writing systems remains a subject of ongoing debate and study. Overall, the linear script remains an important and intriguing example of early writing systems, and continued research and study may yet lead to a better understanding of the language and culture of the ancient Minoans. The ancient Minoan language was a non-Indo-European language spoken on the island of Crete during the Bronze Age, between approximately 2600 and 1100 BCE. The Minoan civilization is known for its advanced culture, art, and architecture, and the language they spoke has been a subject of much study and speculation among scholars. Unfortunately, much of the written record of the Minoan language has been lost, and the surviving inscriptions are relatively brief and often difficult to interpret. The Minoans used two writing systems, known as Linear A and Linear B, with Linear A being used primarily for religious and administrative purposes. While Linear B has been deciphered and shown to be an early form of the Greek language, Linear A has yet to be deciphered, and the language it represents remains largely unknown. However, some scholars have suggested that the Minoan language may have been related to other ancient languages of the Eastern Mediterranean, such as Etruscan, or the language spoken by the ancient Anatolian Hittites. Overall, the ancient Minoan language remains a subject of ongoing research and debate, and new discoveries or breakthroughs may yet shed more light on this fascinating and enigmatic culture. What happened to the Olmec civilization? The Olmec civilization was one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica, known for their distinctive art and architecture, as well as their highly developed social and political systems. They flourished in what is now southern Mexico from approximately 1400 to 400 BCE, although some Olmec-influenced societies continued in the region for centuries after. The Olmec are best known for their monumental stone heads, which are among the largest stone sculptures in the ancient world. These heads depict individual rulers, likely members of a highly centralized and stratified society. The Olmec also built impressive public architecture, including ceremonial centers and ball courts, and created intricate jewelry, pottery, and figurines. The Olmec had a complex system of government, with a ruling class of priests, nobles, and warriors who controlled the labor of commoners. They likely had a highly developed religious system as well, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses that included the jaguar, the feathered serpent, and the rain god. The decline of the Olmec civilization is still not fully understood, but it may have been caused by a combination of environmental factors, such as drought, soil depletion, and erosion, as well as political instability and internal conflict. The Olmec are widely regarded as a major influence on later Mesoamerican cultures, including the Maya and the Aztecs. The decline of the Olmec civilization is not entirely clear, as there is limited written documentation about their culture. However, several factors have been suggested as contributing to their decline. One theory is that environmental factors, such as volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, may have led to the abandonment of their cities. Another theory is that their decline was due to political fragmentation and internal conflict. Additionally, changes in trade networks and the arrival of new groups in the region may have contributed to their decline. Despite their decline, the Olmec civilization had a significant influence on later Mesoamerican cultures, such as the Maya and Aztec. Many aspects of Olmec culture, such as their religious beliefs and art, were adopted by these later civilizations. The Olmec civilization was considered advanced for their time. They were one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica, and their culture and achievements had a significant influence on later civilizations, such as the Maya and Aztecs. The Olmec developed a sophisticated system of agriculture, which allowed them to support a large population. They also built impressive stone structures, including temples and ceremonial centers. The most famous of these is La Venta, which was the largest city in the Olmec heartland and served as a major center of commerce, religion, and politics. In addition to their architectural achievements, the Olmec are also known for their artistic and cultural contributions. They were skilled artists and craftsmen who produced intricate carvings and sculptures, including the famous Olmec heads that are scattered throughout the region. They also developed a complex system of writing and calendrics, which had a significant influence on later Mesoamerican cultures. Overall, the Olmec civilization was highly advanced and played a significant role in shaping the cultural and political landscape of Mesoamerica. The mystery of directed energy weapons. For years, people theorized that the military were using directed energy weapons, but were told that this wasn't the case, and that these were just theories based on rumors. However, it turns out that the United States military is in possession of this technology. The US Navy has been testing and developing directed energy weapons for several years. Directed energy weapons are weapons that emit highly focused energy, such as laser or microwave radiation, to disable or destroy targets. The Navy has been working on developing this technology for a variety of applications, including ship defense, missile defense, and ground-based operations. In 2014, the Navy deployed its first shipboard laser weapon, the Laser Weapon System, aboard the USS Ponce in the Persian Gulf. The Navy has also been developing high-powered microwave weapons for use against drones and other unmanned systems. These weapons use electromagnetic energy to disrupt or disable electronics. While the use of directed energy weapons by the Navy is still in the testing and development phase, they are expected to play an increasingly important role in future military operations. As of right now, people are wondering what other technology the military has that are currently under wraps, saying that this technology was most likely about when people were talking about it several decades ago, and it's caused some to wonder what other creations are currently hidden within the military. The United States Navy said the following on their website. Directed energy weapons are defined as electromagnetic systems capable of converting chemical or electrical energy to radiated energy and focusing it on a target, resulting in physical damage that degrades, neutralizes, defeats, or destroys an adversarial capability. Navy-directed energy weapons include systems that use high-energy lasers that emit photons and high-power microwaves that release radio frequency waves. The US Navy uses directed energy weapons for power projection and integrated defense missions. The ability to focus the radiated energy reliably and repeatedly at range, with precision and controllable effects, while producing measured physical damage, is the measure of directed energy weapons system effectiveness. Conversely, capabilities to increase the resilience or survivability of platforms or sailors from directed energy weapon threats are part of the Counter-Directed Energy Weapons Program. The Lost Wealth of Ophir. The Lost Wealth of Ophir is a reference to a biblical location which was said to be a source of great wealth, specifically gold, silver, precious stones, and other valuable resources. According to the Bible, Ophir was located somewhere in the ancient Near East, possibly on the Arabian Peninsula, and was visited by the biblical King Solomon and other ancient traders. The location of Ophir has been the subject of much debate and speculation over the years, with various theories suggesting it was located in modern-day Yemen, Ethiopia, or even India. Some historians believe that the biblical accounts of Ophir may have been based on actual ancient trade routes and expeditions, while others argue that the stories of Ophir were purely fictional or symbolic. King Solomon is one of the most famous characters of the Old Testament and was the third king of Israel. He was also one of the wealthiest people to ever exist during that period. He was well known as a savvy and knowledgeable leader that ruled the Middle East for nearly 4 decades. King Solomon collected an immense amount of gold during his reign and was known for having 500 tons of it. He used his gold to create armor, clothing, plates, and a throne from the rare metal. In today's value, it is estimated that King Solomon would have a net worth of 60 trillion based on the immense amount of gold he owned. The gold was held in the cave of Ophir, but as of now, no one knows where that is. Unfortunately, the Bible often discusses the king's wealth, but never provides concrete details on where this cave can be found. Some experts claim that he collected this gold with the help of Phoenician King Hiram, who ruled Tyre, modern-day Lebanon. Therefore, the cave could be located in one of these regions. But these regents and their people were known to travel often, and the hidden cave of Ophir could be somewhere in Africa, Asia, or America. Some archaeologists have claimed to have already found the lost mine of Ophir and argue that the metal which made Solomon his money was copper and not gold, but there is yet to be any conclusive evidence to back up these claims. The existence and location of this cave is still a heavily discussed topic today. Archaeologists are still searching for the hidden cave and all its wealth. The mysterious tunnels discovered underneath Teotihuacan. In 2003, a team of Mexican and British archaeologists discovered a network of tunnels beneath the ancient Mesoamerican city of Teotihuacan, located northeast of Mexico City. The tunnels were found beneath the Pyramid of the Sun, the largest pyramid in the city, and are believed to have been sealed for over 1,800 years. The tunnels are around 100 meters long and contain chambers filled with artifacts, including pottery, bones, and statues. The chambers are arranged in a zigzag pattern and are believed to represent different phases of the city's development. The tunnels also contain offerings, including shells, beads, and jade, suggesting that they were used for religious and ceremonial purposes. One of the most significant discoveries made in the tunnels was a large chamber known as the Chamber of the Butterflies, which contains walls decorated with murals depicting butterflies, birds, and flowers. The murals are painted in bright colors and were created using pigments made from minerals and plants. The murals are believed to date back to around 200 AD and are among the oldest examples of Mesoamerican art ever discovered. The discovery of the tunnels has provided new insights into the culture and history of the area, which was one of the most important cities in ancient Mesoamerica. The city is believed to have been established around 200 BC and was home to more than 100,000 people at its peak in the 5th century AD. However, little is known about the city's rulers, religion, or decline, and the discovery of the tunnels has raised new questions about the city's history and the beliefs of its inhabitants. Teotihuacan is a vast, ancient Mesoamerican city located in the basin of Mexico, about 30 miles northeast of modern-day Mexico City. The city contains some of the largest and most impressive pyramids in the Americas. The two most prominent pyramids at the site are the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. The Pyramid of the Sun is the largest structure at the site, measuring over 215 feet tall and covering an area of approximately 700 feet by 720 feet at its base. The Pyramid of the Moon is slightly smaller, measuring about 140 feet tall and covering an area of approximately 390 feet by 450 feet at its base. The exact methods used to construct these pyramids are not entirely known, as there is very little written information about Teotihuacan and the civilization that built it. However, archaeological evidence suggests that the pyramids were constructed using a combination of human labor and advanced engineering techniques. One theory is that the construction of the pyramids began by creating a large earthen mound as the base. Workers would then layer adobe bricks or stone blocks on top of the mound to form the pyramid shape. The blocks were then covered in plaster, which was painted with colorful murals and designs. Another theory suggests that the pyramids were constructed using a technique known as talud tablero, which involves building sloping platforms with vertical walls on top of them. The taluds were constructed using layers of adobe bricks or stone blocks, while the tableros were built using smaller stones or adobe bricks. The alternating layers of larger and smaller stones helped to distribute the weight of the pyramid more evenly. Regardless of the exact construction method, it is clear that the construction of these pyramids was a massive undertaking that required a great deal of planning, organization, and resources. It is believed that the workers who built the pyramids were likely members of a highly organized labor force that was overseen by a centralized government or religious authority. One of the biggest mysteries of Teotihuacan is that no one knows what happened to the people living here. Archaeologists agree that the people of this area did mysteriously vanish. There are many theories as to why this happened, but there is no definitive answer. Some theories suggest that a massive drought may have forced the people to leave in search of water, while others suggest that they may have been overthrown or attacked by a neighboring civilization. Still, others suggest that the people may have simply migrated to other areas of Mexico and Central America. Despite many archaeological discoveries and ongoing research, the mystery of the disappearance of the people of Teotihuacan remains unsolved. The mystery of metallic spheres found buried deep beneath Teotihuacan. Oddly enough, there have been claims of the discovery of metallic spheres beneath an ancient pyramid in Mexico City. As of right now, there's still ongoing debates about what these spheres are and where they came from, but one archaeologist revealed that hundreds of these mysterious spheres had been found buried in a hidden chamber deep beneath the Temple of Feathered Serpent in Mexico. Archaeologists from the Mexico National Institute of Anthropology and History were some of the first people to come forward about the discovery and admitted that they have no idea what the spheres are for. As of right now, the researchers involved in the study have said that it's important that they follow rigorous scientific methods and protocols to investigate and document these mysterious artifacts. The mystery of Spring-Heeled Jack. Spring-Heeled Jack is a legendary figure from 19th century England who is said to have terrorized people in London and its surrounding areas during the Victorian era. The origins of Spring-Heeled Jack's name are derived from his supposed ability to leap great distances in a single bound. There are many different accounts of Spring-Heeled Jack's appearance, but most descriptions suggest that he was a tall, thin man with a frightening, devilish appearance. He was said to have glowing red eyes and sharp, pointed features, along with long, bony fingers and claws. Some accounts describe him as having a cape or wings that allowed him to fly or glide through the air, while others suggest that he wore a black suit. Spring-Heeled Jack was said to have a number of supernatural abilities, such as the ability to breathe fire, shoot lightning bolts from his fingertips, and emit a blinding blue flame. He was also said to be incredibly strong and agile, able to leap over tall buildings and run at great speeds. According to legend, Spring-Heeled Jack first appeared in London in 1837, when he was reported to have attacked a woman named Mary Stevens. Over the years, there were numerous reports of Spring-Heeled Jack attacking people on dark, foggy streets or in their own homes. He was said to have a particular fondness for frightening women and was rumoured to have been responsible for a number of mysterious passings and disappearances. Despite numerous sightings and reports, Spring-Heeled Jack was never caught or identified. Some people believe that he was a real person who used elaborate disguises and special effects to create his supernatural abilities, while others believe that he was a creature of the supernatural realm. In modern times, Spring-Heeled Jack's origins and true identity remains shrouded in mystery, making him one of the most enduring and enigmatic figures in British folklore. The mysterious balancing rocks in Zimbabwe. The Kiremba Balancing Rocks are a natural geological formation located in Epworth, a suburb of Harare, the capital city of Zimbabwe. The rocks are made of dolerite, a type of volcanic rock, and are believed to have been formed by the erosion of softer rock layers that once surrounded them. What makes the Kiremba Balancing Rocks unique is their unusual balancing formation. The rocks appear to be precariously balanced on top of each other, with some of the larger rocks weighing up to several tons. The balancing formation of the rocks has been attributed to the erosive forces of wind and water over millions of years. The Kiremba Balancing Rocks have become a popular tourist attraction in Zimbabwe and are also considered a sacred site by some of the local indigenous people who believe that the rocks have spiritual significance. The site has also been designated as a national monument by the Zimbabwean government in recognition of its geological and cultural importance. The mystery of the Octavius. The story of the Octavius is a maritime legend that tells of a ghost ship discovered adrift in the Arctic Ocean in the early 19th century. The Octavius was a British trading vessel that set sail from England to the Orient in 1761. After successfully completing its trade mission, the ship was supposed to sail back to England via the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. However, it was believed that the captain of the Octavius, together with his crew, tried to take a shortcut through the Northwest Passage to save time and money. The Northwest Passage was a treacherous route that many sailors had attempted to navigate, but few had successfully completed. The Octavius was lost and never heard from again until 1775, when a whaling ship called the Herald discovered a ship that was completely frozen in the ice near Greenland. Upon closer inspection, the crew of the Herald realized that the ship was the Octavius, and that it had been adrift in the Arctic for over a decade. What was particularly eerie about the discovery of the Octavius was that the ship's captain, crew, and passengers were all found dead and frozen in time, as if they had passed away suddenly and without warning. The captain's log, which was found on board, indicated that the Octavius had successfully navigated the Northwest Passage, but that it had become trapped in the ice and was unable to move. It was believed that the ship's crew had died from exposure and starvation, and that they had all succumbed to their fate in a very short amount of time. The discovery of the Octavius has become a popular maritime legend, with many people claiming to have seen the ghost ship sailing through the waters of the Arctic. The mystery of Joseph Woods, Jr. On the 8th of July, back in 1999, a 34-year-old man by the name of Joseph Woods, Jr. would suddenly go missing shortly before his expected attendance at a prestigious meeting amongst journalists from across the United States. Initially, co-workers grew suspicious at his absence, believing instead that he had decided to take an unscheduled day off. But as investigators looked more closely at the case of Joseph Woods, Jr., it would soon become apparent that something far more peculiar had occurred. While taking a short hike up the slopes of Mount Rainier, Joseph would seemingly vanish from a standard hiking trail, with eyewitnesses claiming to have seen him only a few minutes prior to his strange disappearance. According to the official missing persons report, Joseph worked as an editor for the book publishing company The New Press while he lived in New York City, where he grew up. After having graduated from Yale University with honors and receiving a bachelor's degree in journalism, Joseph was interested in pursuing a more journalistic career, and so would join the prestigious New York paper known as The Village Voice, where he would publish weekly articles on a variety of political and social topics. However, in 1996, seemingly becoming disinterested with news reporting and journalism, Joseph would eventually leave the paper and join the New Press as a writer and editor for many of the new popular books published all across New York. It would be while working for the New Press that Joseph would be invited to attend the Unity 99 meeting back on the 7th of July of 1999. The next day, after attending the conference breakfast and renting a Mercury Marquis automobile for travel, Joseph would journey to the Mount Rainier National Park and arrive sometime in the early afternoon. According to official investigators, an exact receipt would later be found at the Nisqually entrance that would put an exact time to Joseph's arrival, with the recovered receipt marked for 12:29 as he entered the Longmire parking area. According to eyewitnesses later interviewed by investigators, Joseph was seen leaving his vehicle and heading for Mildred Point, a small outcropping along the basic hiking trails at around 5,900 feet in elevation, following the flow of the crowds and staying along the basic hiking trails used by amateur hiking visitors. Although investigators originally believed that Joseph was another case of an inexperienced hiker getting lost after stepping away from the main trails, the truth would later be revealed when family members and friends were later asked by investigators for additional personal details surrounding Joseph and his experience in the outdoors. Investigators would later uncover that though Joseph stuck with the main amateur crowds while visiting the slopes, he had been an avid outdoorsman his entire life, even earning the title of Eagle Scout while he was a member of the Boy Scouts while growing up in New York. Additionally, the trail that Joseph had taken was a simple, wide trail that had clear pathways, making it impossible for someone to get injured or lost, even if they were an inexperienced traveler. Even more strange, Joseph did not make or have any plans to engage in any risky activity whatsoever, and should have made it back to his vehicle in less than a couple hours. The last known eyewitness to Joseph's whereabouts was another visiting hiker in the area known as Bruce Gaumond. When search and rescue would later be called to the area, Bruce would tell investigators that he had come across Joseph while he had been coming down the slope at around an altitude of 4,800 feet. He and Joe had talked for a few minutes while resting at the Rampart Ridge Trail, where they used their short break to compare notes on what birds the two men had both seen. When estimating the time that this encounter took place, Bruce was a little unsure, but guessed that it must have accrued sometime around 2 in the afternoon, give or take 20 minutes or so. Shortly before the end of their conversation, Joseph would ask Bruce how much further the trail went up, to which Bruce replied that the trail was essentially closed, as it only continued up for about 10 more minutes, but was blocked off by some fresh snow and a questionable snow bridge. Additionally, Bruce would advise Joseph to not continue any further up the trail due to the snow bridge, which appeared to have been a sheet of fresh snow that covered over hidden ridgelines and unnoticeable cracks, proving to be too dangerous to pass through without fear of accidentally falling into one of the deep, unseen caverns of the pass. Though Bruce Gaumond had assumed that Joseph Woods had returned to the base of the mountain after their talk, he would initially tell investigators that if Joseph Woods happened to be missing, he could have fallen into one of the questionable snow bridges had he instead continued up the trail. Unfortunately for investigators, the early hours of Joe's disappearance were lost, as he had not yet been reported missing anywhere around when he had last been seen by Bruce. In fact, Joseph would not be reported missing for over 48 hours following his disappearance. After missing the Unity 99 conference, a woman by the name of Somini, a reporter for the New York Times and an ex-girlfriend to Joe, would become increasingly suspicious of his lack of attendance. According to Somini, she and Joseph had made plans to meet at the conference to catch up, as they had ended their relationship on good terms. Oddly enough, Joseph would never make it to the conference, leaving Somini extremely concerned after she would call his cell phone several times and not receive a single response. Unsure of what was going on, Somini would go to the hotel room that Joseph had been staying at when he arrived in Seattle and ask the front desk if Joseph was okay. The front desk would then share with Somini the bizarre information that Joseph had not checked back into his hotel for 2 days. Immediately upon hearing this news, Somini would contact the local authorities and file a missing persons report. It would not be until the following Monday that officials working at the Mount Rainier National Park would discover an abandoned car in Longmire Lot that investigators would later be alerted belonged to missing person Joseph Wood Jr. After spending the day searching the vehicle and organizing with the National Park Service, investigators would locate the printed receipt that would place Joseph at the park sometime around 12:29 in the afternoon on the 8th of July. After hearing this news, the National Park Service would tell investigators that far too much time had passed since Joseph's disappearance, and that any sign of his trail, that once existed in the 2 feet of packed snow, was most likely melted into nothing more than an intraversible trail of mud and loose rocks. Even more problematic, the National Park Service had a difficult time organizing a search and rescue mission in the area, as the trail that Joseph had taken was one of the safest areas of the slopes and had no history of disappearances anywhere in the region. Confused as to where Joseph could have traveled that could have caused him to disappear, the National Park Service was forced to expand their search parameters several miles larger than they had the necessary man-hours for, and started in the area where the 1999 winter snow recorded the 3rd heaviest snowfall in the park's history, an area where large drifts of snow and ice were left behind on the mountainside. This forced search and rescue teams to cover a more than 10-square-mile area in the hopes of finding any sign of Joe. The only benefit the team believed they had was that the snow had already begun melting in the region, and if a body was lost anywhere in the small cracks, it would be clearly visible by that point in time. Yet, despite several thousand man-hours of searching, with volunteers covering an area of 10 square miles, no sign of Joseph or any of his belongings were discovered. It would not be for another 7 days that the National Park Service and missing person investigators would get any news on the disappearance of Joseph, when on the 15th of July, Bruce would come back to the Mount Rainier National Park after seeing a local news article about Joseph's disappearance. Although by this point in time, search and rescue had given up hope on finding Joseph alive, with a tighter search area and new information brought forward by Bruce, The volunteers believed that they could locate and recover Joseph's within a couple of days and help bring closure to the Woods family. On the following day, on Friday, July 16th, as the search and rescue team was in the area of where Joseph Woods had last been seen, a sudden rainfall began in the region of the primary search area. Several months after this event, some of the search and rescue volunteers would remark about how strange the sudden rainfall had been, as the area of the rain only appeared to be within the area designated for search and had seemingly come out of nowhere with no weather forecast having predicted the sudden shower. It would be due to this mysterious rainfall that rescuers claimed they were forced to start scaling back their efforts in the region, and would tell Joe's family that given the rain, weather, and deteriorating trails, it was highly unlikely that Joseph survived anywhere on the slopes of the mountain over the last several days. Despite family members begging for the search and rescue teams to continue their work in order to help recover any sign of Joseph, the National Park Service would continue to scale back the search efforts until they appeared to quietly dismiss the disappearance entirely and secretly ended any and all search efforts. Frustrated by this response, Joseph Woods' parents would contact the White House and Washington state government Gary Locke, personally asking the government official if he would help to continue the search efforts for their son and assist with granting aerial support from the National Guard. As public pressure continued, 2 days later, on the 18th of July, the National Park Service would hold a public press conference talking about Joseph's disappearance, claiming that they were going to scale back their search efforts under the belief that Joseph had fallen through a questionable snow bridge and suffered a catastrophic accident, despite no evidence to support their claims. Frustrated by the lack of response, Joseph Woods' old employer, working for the Village Voice New York paper, would publish several articles discussing the disappearance of Joseph and the failures on the part of the National Park Service. On the 7th of July, the Village Voice would publish a scathing article which would claim that the National Park Service was hiding evidence of foul play. The article and the strange circumstances of Joseph's disappearance would lead to the story being considered one of the best-selling and popular articles of the time, causing a tremendous public uproar and sharp criticism of the Mount Rainier National Park Service. In reaction to this new public pressure, the National Park Service would gather together a team of 38 searchers, 5 search and rescue canines, and multiple aircraft such as helicopters and small airplanes to begin a more thorough search of the area where Joseph Woods had last been seen by Bruce. Unfortunately for the Woods family, despite these renewed efforts, no further information was gathered. The canine search and rescue teams were unable to follow any scent, with the last scent of Joseph Woods apparently ending at the Rampart Ridge Trail, where he had last been seen. Despite the snow having cleared and Joseph wearing high-visibility clothing, the aircraft were unable to spot anything of value. Unsurprisingly, the ground teams were unable to locate any tracks or signs of a person having left the designated safe hiking trails anywhere along the pathway Joseph was believed to have taken. So, what do you make of these unsolved mysteries? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.